podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, Media Creators Co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbb-radio.com.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the 716th Attack Legion podcast. Today we're joined by Matt Johnson, founder.
Not founder. Don't got flatter. No. What's up? No, not founder. Technically, I appreciate it. I would like to be known as the founder, but hi everybody. Yes, I run the network. I allow you guys to be on my network. That was kind of douchey saying that. I guess I should start off by saying I know me and Christian have been tight for a while, obviously through your dad, and you've been a part of the network for 2 years now.
About 2 years now.
I think it's been about 2 years now. Jordan, you reached out to me not too long ago. Jack, I've seen you in passing. Of course, around here and stuff. So I'm just grateful that people want to do this stuff. You know, podcasting is a really cool way to get just. Can I swear on the show?
Yeah.
You weren't nodding very confident.
I was just like, wait, what?
I'm on the show, so yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right,
absolutely.
that's fair. Just fun. It's a nice way to get just shit off your chest.
Absolutely.
Just do whatever you're thinking off your chest. So it's really cool when I see people take up podcasting, and I'm grateful that people want to do it through us because obviously, being through the studio, you don't have to do it through us. Through our network, but you choose to. So I appreciate you guys, all three of you, but of course you two for officially joining, and another co-host who I'm filling in for today. So
Yeah, Julien can't be with us today.
Yeah,
He's off in the industry.
Superstar.
in the industry, not this again.
Hey, I mean, somebody's got to live the dreams.
Yeah.
Good for him. No, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And as always, I'm joined by Jack and Christian, and we're going to be out here today talking about video games.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to talk about all Star Wars video
Sonic the
games.
Hedgehog.
Mario. we're specifically going to be
Super
talking
Smash
about the
Bros.
Mario movie.
Yeah.
No, we're going to be talking about the Star Wars video games. But before we get into that, I just want to highlight some Star Wars news. Rest in peace, Star Cruiser.
It was never going to last.
What you think? It's like, what gave that away?
Who's
It's like,
spending $6,000 for 3 people to go to a hotel?
Well, like, yeah, just in
Jordan
the,
over there.
I mean, I would.
Okay, so
Wanted to.
what is it closing when? At the end of the year or something? It's not. It wasn't immediately, but at some point this year.
I think September.
Yeah.
Which, like, it was a
They're
dumb
stopping
idea.
taking reservations past September.
Cool
okay.
idea, poorly
Yeah,
executed.
it's a cool idea, like, but it was just dumb in terms of like the price point.
Right.
It's not like an accessible price point. And then like they've done this weird thing with, and this is also honestly a mistake, kind of with Galaxy's Edge as well, is that they've set both of those sites as these weird like you can come into the canon and like and walk around, which is dumb as hell. But like, and then they set them both like in the least popular era that like the people with money don't like, because again you're like if you the people that do like the sequel trilogy because they exist, like they're not the people that are gonna. They're like children, maybe. Like, and a lot of the people that don't like the sequel trilogy are like original trilogy fans with like bank accounts and like jobs that like spend money.
Right.
So like,
Yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity. I haven't been on Disney. Probably it's been a long time, 8 years, and I had the opportunity maybe last year to do it, and I was like, come on, we go to see Star Wars. I'm like, no, like I like it, again. The concept is cool, but the execution is just terrible. Like, not terrible. Sorry, people enjoy it. You guys enjoy it. I don't want to dismiss it, but it's not something that's really flattered me. Those sequel trilogies are awful. They're obviously trying to retcon it and make it better. But the hotel thing is like tragic. It's very unfortunate because it's cool in theory. It's cool in theory. But honestly, if they want to do something fun Star Wars related, they should have followed the same model that they did with Art of Animation, with Pop Century, with
The
Disney movies, music.
cost-saving resorts. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what people like. That's fun stuff.
Yeah.
People don't go to Disney to stay in the hotel all day.
Well,
I mean, I don't know like how much money they need to like get it back open, but I feel like they could make probably twice the amount they're making now if they just lowered the price.
right.
okay, let me
Like-
cook on this for just a minute.
Yeah,
I
go
have
for
an
it.
idea to save the Star Cruiser. Okay.
We
Are you
crash
listening,
it and
Disney?
we hyperspace it into a bigger ship. We hyperspace.
Essentially,
Like-
we
Bring up a hammerhead.
Yeah, pick up a hammer.
Yes.
Yeah. Get rid of it. Yeah.
we do what you call it maneuver? I can't remember her name.
Holdo.
The
Haldo maneuver?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we'll do the Haldo maneuver and crash into a dreadnought. But here's my idea to fix this, right? 3 different cost points. You want non-immersive, kind of like art of animation and stuff like that, where you just get the theming and giant R2 statues, whatever. And you do this all in the same resort. You don't have to do this into a you don't have to build off of it or demo anything or put it in different locations. But you do a budget-friendly,
Yeah.
non-immersive Star Wars themed resort. Then you do a semi-immersive where you're like, oh, we're just on a Star Wars planet, Batuu, whatever. We're just in a different part of Batuu, and then you walk in. And then you do fully immersive Star Cruiser, and then full punched.
Yeah.
You want to go broke. You want to mortgage your house for the 3rd time going to Disney.
Yeah, I just want to.
I just can't believe they haven't done a.
I would just stay at the hotel. Like I would just be like, if I had a hotel that was like, oh, it's like I'm staying in space.
Like it's
That'd be
wild
fine
to me
with
how
me.
every aspect of not every aspect, but so much of like the Disney like different departments have messed up how to use like the Star Wars IP well. Because like even the idea that like yes they have a site on like that is a Star Wars thing on there, but like how the hell don't they have like a whole Star Wars park yet? Like if we're being honest,
I hear it's in the
ourselves.
works.
That
Like-
concept for
I hope this is
Like
a
that-
That was
setback.
fake. That was
Yeah.
fake.
That concept was fake, but like the idea of like a whole park that would just be like going from planet to planet depending on like the section you're in,
Yeah.
like that would just make money.
Yeah.
Like and you just do like a couple different eras, and like so then you're satisfying everyone, so
Yeah.
you're not like anyone doesn't feel left out. Well, so like that to me always felt like a very obvious like thing that like any study that those idiots do would have told you would have been like
you think they do
helpful.
studies?
They do like they're bullshit bureaucracy shit, but like they
you
do
would
them.
think, hey, maybe at different points of the year we do different parts of the universe. You do
Yeah.
Clone Wars or like
Yeah.
the prequel series, then you go into the filler
Originals.
series
Yeah.
or the originals, and then
Or
you
just not doing like a normal hotel that's just like a normal hotel, but it's just skin to Star Wars. Like how the hell have you not done like that yet? Instead, you went in like we're gonna have a floating galactic cruiser.
Yeah, they
but
went
you
all
can't, and We're
in.
gonna lock you inside.
They
for
went
3
all in
weeks or
right
whatever
away.
the hell that thing was.
3
like,
days.
3 days, yeah.
You can
and
go
you
to-
can
you
sleep
can
in
go
like a
into
bunk.
Batuu, and
Like
that's
you can
it.
sleep in like like a bed like the ones in Andor, because that's what the beds in that looked like. Like it's like because they were like bunk beds. It was like you literally had to get in like a cabin like on like a real screw. Like, I want to sleep in a bed.
modeled after a cruise ship. Yeah.
My question is,
Yeah.
what are like they're closing it down, but like what's gonna happen to
They're
the
gonna
building?
they're gonna tear
They're
down.
gonna tear down the entire
Probably. I
building.
mean, maybe they'll like reimagine it into like a more palpable, like less cost,
Yeah, that's a
more
good
cost
question.
efficient design or
I heard
idea.
they're gonna make it into an event space.
That
It's a
would make
hotel.
sense.
No, like a conference center. Gut it down to roots, keep the exterior of the building, and bring it into an event
Yeah,
center. Kind of like what
that's
they have
probably
over
the
by
only use
Swan
they
and
can get
Dolphin
for it
and
at this
everything.
point.
Is this the biggest like Disney theme park bust like attraction of all time?
Probably.
Like,
Mil-
you probably
in recent
right?
history,
Like that quick.
In
The
recent
Certainly
history,
in
for
the
sure.
very recent.
They've at
history,
least
yeah.
tried to renovate their mistakes in previous years. Stuff that wasn't working. They're like, okay, let's modify this and twist it
Yeah,
up.
this
a
didn't
little
last a year.
Well,
Yeah.
Epcot-
So,
the-
or a little over a year. It
The
only
big
lasted.
thing was, but they stopped it before it launched with Disney. And before we go down the Disney rabbit hole podcast here,
Well, that we'll skip to the next thing after that.
Animal
And then we'll
Kingdom.
get to the
They were
actual
supposed to be a
topic.
whole fantasy land with Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which now they've turned into, it's Pandora now. But they were supposed to do mythological creatures and dragons and stuff like that. That's why if you look at the Tree of Life and the sign, there's dragons and unicorns and all this stuff all mixed in. So that was, at the time, the biggest bust. But now this,
The only thing that kind of happened was when they built Hollywood Studios, when it was MGM Hollywood Studios, it was supposed to be functional studios.
Right.
And they never were able to really get anything really produced down there on a regular basis for various reasons. I think the cost of producing a movie, TV show in Florida was so high that it just never happened. So they ended up with all those warehouses that were built as studio spaces, and they were beautiful. You could take a tour, you could see the costume shops, and then remember you had the backlot
The backlot tour
where
was
they
the
had
best.
thing, and there was the backlot show, and they talked about special effects, and you'd see props from movies. That stuff was all pretty cool, but the big part of it was supposed to be those buildings, and that's why those buildings all became like Toy Story, and like some of the other things. All those buildings they never tore down; they just reused them for other things.
Right.
So, but that was, I mean, that's probably the only thing that never did. And that wasn't. This wasn't. I just think that they really were trying to make it like Hollywood, like Universal Studios, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Maybe
Segue
they'll make it
very
into a
quickly.
bigger event, like a bigger ride space or something like that for Star Wars, like where you can go in, kind of like Rise of the Resistance. You have a big immersive ride where you're on a Star Destroyer and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get something on the flip side of the coin where you're with the Rebels and you're on one of their ships or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's a lot of square footage where they should not waste it.
All right. In terms of other business stuff related, Indiana Jones. I know that's not
Christian wants to talk
exactly
about Indiana
that's not exactly
Jones.
what we talk about here, but it is like the only other. Well, I love how it like seemingly Lucasfilm has managed to. They've only made 3 things ever. And like Disney has managed to run all 3 of them into the dirt. Like they killed Willow even more than it was already dead. Willow didn't even exist as a thing, and they brought it back and they made it worse. Like in the original one.
They brought it out. They
Honestly,
we tried to watch that.
Honestly,
me and
I thought it
him
was a
tried.
new thing.
Anybody try to watch it?
No.
No.
I knew
No.
people who
Oh my
liked
God.
it. I knew people who liked
But
it.
like if you watch that and you add that fiasco like on top of like the Star Wars one, and now we have this Indiana Jones one. Is that everyone? Do people aware of what I'm talking about? First off, with the reviews.
No.
Okay, so I know this must be confusing because Indiana Jones doesn't come out till like the end of like next month or the end of this month.
Something like that.
So either way,
I
a
think it's end of
while.
June.
June 3rd.
But either way, they had this come out. They brought Indiana Jones 5 to Cannes Film Festival to come out, which means like, oh, they think it's gonna be like good and like whatever. It comes out and like and so the reviews are out 2 months before the movie's out. This shit getting crapped on.
really?
Like yeah,
It's got
like
50% on Rotten
like
Are these
horrific.
professional
like
critics,
it's
though?
yes, like it's got like I mean,
Well,
but yeah, Cannes are ripping it apart like massively,
Yeah.
which like I don't know.
You can't
And
go
I
off
don't
of
want to
Rotten
wait. I'm
Tomatoes.
gonna wait and see.
You can.
But-
They're pretty trustworthy.
But again, this movie has a $300 million
Listen to
budget,
Scream.
Right.
which I don't even know how that like you manage. They keep managing to do this.
It's-
Like Lucasfilm, they don't know how to run productions at all because like Indiana Jones 5 should not be $300 million.
That's a lot.
Like
So-
that's not advertising. That's just what and want to know what that means? Reshoots.
so
Like that's just what that is.
to me, and I'm asking this is just kind of my question to feed off this before we go into the main core topics here.
Yeah.
Do you believe that we get into Kathleen Kennedy's final departure?
Well, I think that's where Christian's going.
Well,
with
that's
this.
what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get at that like
Please go away.
like how much and again Disney's been a bit more ruthless as of late. Like they just actually a few days ago fired a lot of Pixar people because Pixar's been in the gutter for like a year.
Yeah,
since,
we're
like,
going into
years.
Elemental now, which is Romeo and
That's
Juliet
going to
for the
be
9th time.
that's going to be Buzz Lightyear again. Like that's going to be like because Lightyear lost money and that movie's going to lose money as well.
I
Because
like
it's just
that
not
movie.
interesting.
I liked
I
it.
liked Lightyear.
But either way though, it just lost money
Yeah.
and like it wasn't a good rollout of that.
well,
And-
wasn't it also
and they
during, like,
degraded the brand when they released a bunch of movies onto Disney Plus directly when they were just doing Pixar movies right on. That was
Yeah.
like the biggest mistake they've made.
Well, like-
but- so now they screwed Pixar
COVID.
up and they fired
Yeah.
those people. They had the Marvel like CGI issue, which resulted in Alonzo, the one executive producer who was like a thought of his baby, a one-day successor to Kevin Feige, getting fired. She was there since 2008. So at what point does like how much shit does like an executive have to like ruin like at a studio? And like I'm sure that like on some level her tenure has been positive. Like otherwise she wouldn't have been here. Like they've made money, but like surely you can't
Not
like
enough.
run most. You can't like under your leadership. Star Wars became less popular than Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, which is, I don't think anyone ever thought that would happen realistically.
Yeah.
You cut off the main trilogy, which was like the main thing they've put out. I know Mandalorian's big and whatever is probably the least well received thing in Star Wars ever. And lastly, and now like what on top of that, if you ruin Indiana Jones, the only other like
Your
franchise
only
you
other
have,
IP.
like it's all Lucasfilm has. Like it's just Indiana Jones and like Star Wars? And why did you even dig up his corpse? Like if you needed it, like
How
if
much
you're not
money
gonna
did
do
you
it
have to
well,
give
like
to
if you
Harrison
didn't have a
Ford
good story
to make a
like,
bad
especially
movie?
after 4 though. Like
Yeah.
how would you just go and do like the same thing again? Like again, maybe it will be wrong, and maybe the critics are idiots, and like we'll all love it.
They
but,
miss.
like,
They have been
Wouldn't-
missing a lot lately, but yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time though that critics were idiots.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Like, but we'll see. Like just.
When they
I
gave
just don't
Last
have
Jedi
much.
an amazing
I'm
score.
inclined to
Oh,
believe.
yeah.
this
So,
point.
and the other bit of Star Wars news is before it even was released, we lost Ray Stevenson from.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So just wanted to thoughts and prayers with his family and
Rest in peace.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna
rest
soak.
in
He'll
peace.
be-
And may the force be with him as he becomes one with the living force.
Yeah. Dude,
I don't know what side of the force he ended up on, but
Well, I'm glad that he gets to do something Star Wars related. I'm not sure how much of a Star Wars fan he was growing up around it, but it is always cool to see that these big name actors, actresses just have like have a role, a part in these various movies. That's why it's cool when I see big time actors get something, anything in the MCU. It's really cool when it's Star Wars because I think it's a lot more open now. Star Wars is a lot more open now to those celebrity pop-ups. I mean, Bill Burr and Carl Weathers and all these really tremendous actors, celebrities, personalities getting to appear in it is it's
Well,
always
he's
nice.
been in Star Wars before.
Stevenson.
Yeah, he was Gar Saxon.
yeah, he was Gar Saxon in Clone Wars.
Oh yeah. Fair.
But in a live action
Yeah,
sense,
he
I get
gets
what
to
you're
be in
saying.
live action.
Right.
He gets to embody another character, and
Yeah.
we get to push
I
on.
didn't
from
realize that. Actually, I didn't. Actually,
Yeah.
So Filoni had a pre-existing relationship with him. Okay, interesting.
there. Yeah. So, but now let's get into the fun stuff,
Yeah.
the video games.
Video
And,
games.
Less
Yeah.
negativity. Well,
So we'll start with Matt here. What was the first video game that you played that was a Star Wars video game that brought you into, I guess, even further expansion of your appreciation of the franchise and its anthologies?
Well, my first one ever was Star Wars Masters of Terras Kasai. It was a very, very bad fighting game. Very bad, where it was easier to get like ring outs instead of just beating your opponents. Complicated. I remember throwback, my dad renting it from Blockbuster for a weekend, and being he couldn't get it back to Blockbuster fast enough is basically what I'm trying to say. So that would be the first one. I do have memories of like Super Star Wars, growing up, having an Super Nintendo. My dad playing a little bit of that. I never got into those too much, but the first one that I ever really remember playing was Terras Kasai. I got really, really excited. I watched Han Solo again. I hated it the first time I watched it. Loved the second time I watched it, which was just a month or so ago. And they actually dropped a reference to Terras Kasai.
Oh, okay.
And it Han Solo, oh God, what was her name? Han Solo's love interest. Kira. Yes, she dropped a Terras Kasai reference. I'm like, man, that is cool. Why did I not pick up on that before? So yeah.
So that was my first Star Wars game as well. I remember getting it with the PlayStation demo, where it was all the different games. You got all the different samples, and you could either be the Gamorrean Guards, Luke, or Vader, and that was it.
Yeah.
So my dad would never buy it for me, but that was the first Star Wars sampling I got of video games. But the first game that I played through and through was that I can remember, was the Lego Star Wars first one for Phantom Menace.
Oh.
Does that count? I feel like that should count.
Yeah,
It's a
that
Lego
Lego
game at
games
the same
count, yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Lego games.
So
That's
like the
the first-
original,
The Lego games have
pr-
a weird,
yeah.
actually a weird, fun place in Star Wars, like
They do.
culture.
They're
Because they
great
kind of make
games.
fun of the main series, like lightheartedly,
Yeah.
and it's in like they're like a meta commentary with like the cutscenes.
And I remember that one for me was close between that and Star Wars X-Wing, which was for PlayStation 1, if I remember correctly, and it was a 2-disc pack.
Yes.
And
yes.
it was so the graphic. Now looking back on all these games, but the graphics on us were so bad.
I get headaches playing those now.
Yeah, but Jack, what about you?
The first ever Star Wars game that I played was Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. Like my dad used to play it on his own, like because it came out around the time that I was born. So like I would watch him play it, and then when I got old enough, I played it with him, and I'd die constantly because I wasn't good at
It's a
video
hard
games. It's
game.
a very hard game, but yeah, that was the first game I played, and I still play it today. Like I still have my PlayStation 2, and I hook it up to my TV. You know,
My disc is busted, but it was like, wow, I get to be Mace Windu and Plo Koon and Adi Gallia, and of course, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and that was really, really, that's probably my favorite game that I've ever, like, early on games I got to play, but that's
Isn't
a
that when
really
Plo
good
Koon
one.
had an orange lightsaber.
Yeah.
He had and then Mace Windu had the blue.
Yep.
And Adi Gallia had the red.
Yep.
And you can
Right?
Yeah, weirdly
It's
weird,
weird now that the colors mean something now, and
they do.
it's
Well,
not
like-
just a
that
way to
was a pretty
distinguish
color.
characters.
Something I figured out when I, like years later after I played it, is that like you could unlock bonus characters.
Yeah, you can unlock Maul. I
So
believe.
like you could play as Darth Maul,
Yeah.
and like I was like, what? And you could play as Captain Panaka and
Yeah.
Padme Amidala, and I was like,
Why?
What?
Yeah. Well,
When
it's
was
cool.
that?
Right. I never got that far though. The furthest I ever made was the Coruscant level, and I
that's
just like
hard.
it's
level.
difficult because it's all the gangsters and stuff, and I'm just running through. I stopped fighting and I just started running through, and I still got whooped up. So
That was like with me and Aladdin and Sega, but that's neither
yeah.
here nor there. Christian,
I think the first games I played were probably the Lego ones, if I had to guess. Like, otherwise, I don't even know which one it would have been. Again, I'm younger, but me and Jack are younger, so we're kind of like missed a lot of like the more iconic, like older, like 90s and like early 2000s games, which is kind of like when Star Wars games were like more abundant and like at their peak.
The one we had was the first Lego, and it was PC based.
Yeah, 'cause we had
Before
Sega,
we
yeah.
even had like a game system.
right.
Because I kind of didn't have a game system when you guys were little,
Mm-hmm.
or was old, And then I think, then when you got old, then we got you Wii first. but
Yeah,
then
like I didn't have like a PlayStation or anything when I was that young.
No,
So
but not until you guys were a little bit older. But it was
Man.
definitely we started
yeah,
it on.
because even like
but then we
Battlefront,
started it, but we played
Yeah.
it on PC. We played it on a.
because even like
PC
Battlefront,
first.
like 1 and 2, which were like the early ones, not the EA shitter ones.
whoa, easy.
I don't like those games. It's at
We'll
least
get into
compared to
that.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that for a while. But even that, I didn't own them. Jack had them.
Yeah, I
Well,
brought 'em over.
it's
I would
like
come and hook up the
it's like I
PlayStation.
would go with Jack, or Jack would bring in the PlayStation over to play that.
So
So those are the two. Yeah, Battlefront, the first two Battlefronts, and I remember playing the complete saga. Like I don't know when that one came out. Probably 2005, 6, something like that.
Something like that. Let's see.
Although I probably played
think
a
it
game.
was
I probably
2005.
played like an original trilogy one.
Because
or a
yeah,
prequel version
the
before
the
that.
first one was just based off the prequel trilogy. That came out a couple weeks before Episode 3, because that was a big deal because people were running to play that, so can they get spoilers a little bit. Then OG trilogy came out a couple years after, and I think Complete Saga.
Complete Saga came out
2010?
November 6, 2007.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow, I was in
it's
high
probably
school.
Really
already
good.
so long then, yeah.
I played it
That
on the
would've been,
Wii.
like,
I
8, so,
remember
yeah.
I bought it on the Wii, and me and my cousin just powered through it one night, and I was like blown away because I like I was telling you guys before about like Star Wars Rebels. I'm like, God, this is kid stuff. Here I am in high school, college. I'm like, God, this is stupid. This is nerd. And I was like, these are really fun and probably some of the most accurate Star Wars video games ever made, because a lot of them can get very goofy. Yeah, Legos.
Roger.
Legos
There's
so
a
good.
variety
I
of
love
quality
Lego
when it comes to
games.
Star Wars games. Like it varies heavily.
The Star Wars games are kind of like their own subculture of the fandom. I feel like,
Yeah.
because there are so many games that are out there. What's canon and what's legends now is like neither here nor there. People just play them for the love of the game.
Yeah, they're making. I mean, obviously, canon's a big part of them now. But you're right. Like back then, Masters of Terras Kasai, I'm sure that they'd rather forget that one happened. I another one I played when I was younger was Super Bombad Races. I don't know if you remember it.
I remember those.
This game,
That sounds awesome.
That was
terrible.
what?
Terrible.
Sounds horrible.
I have it. If you guys ever want to just get in, I'll throw in the multi-tap and we can play.
Couldn't you like build your own pod racer?
They definitely
I thought that was the
I don't
pod
think we got
racing
to do
one.
that company.
That-
They had a
They
race.
can't.
They did have the pod racing one for N64, which is really
Which is
cool.
now on Xbox, by the way. It's on
They didn't
Xbox
update
Game
it.
Pass. I got that on May 4th there.
I love it. It's a fun one. I actually played the simulator. They had a simulation one where we sat in a pod in Disney at I think I was at Port Orleans, and I put it. It was like $1.50 to use this thing, and I could not figure it out. But yeah, Super Combat Races was terrible.
Everything was terrible, but it was so good at that time. The first time you
This
played
is- yeah,
that
this is
game,
peak.
That's just awful. I don't even remember. I just Star Wars Connect just popped into my.
That was
brain.
just thinking
Like,
about
that
it.
one's so
Like I
horrible.
remember when you got your Xbox and like it came
with
with
it.
the bundle.
Oh yeah, because we had a R2D2 Xbox.
Yeah.
Because that was the bundle. It was PS. What was that? Xbox 360. What was that shit? Yeah.
It had like a skin on it.
That was
No, I
awful.
know we're going to talk a lot about Battlefront, and we're going to have a lot of compare and contrast, but I just want to give an honorable mention to the game that stuck with me the most, or rather the games that stuck with me the most, and those were the Force Unleashed games.
Yeah, I think that was.
Those are such good games.
They should make them canon
Yes.
and remaster them and
I
re-release
think
them.
to be fair, I don't think they should make them canon. I think they should maybe like find a way to adapt that character into canon.
Yes.
Like with a bit more sense. Because
Well,
No, I
so, like-
want to
let's
watch
be
him pull
real.
down
The
another Star
Star
Destroyer.
Destroyer.
Because the reason the Force Unleashed games are good is because it's a power fantasy. Like, it's not really supposed to be, like, an accurate representation of, like, what a person with Force ability can do.
Yeah.
Like, because remember, like, in the first game, which is, I think, it was a better storyline than the second, even though the second is, like, a way better, like, technical game. And, like, the graphics, like, improve massively. But, like, the first one, Starkiller, like, fucks up, like, a Jedi Master. He screws up, like, multiple Jedi Masters, just, like... like
With
up until that
ease.
point, and then at the end, he proceeds to beat Vader.
He beats
like,
Vader.
well, like easily.
He gets-
like
he
like,
almost
chucking
beat-
him through walls and stuff.
he
Like,
almost beats Palpatine.
and then then nearly kills like Emperor Palpatine. So I think it's a little much. Like, and there was a talk at one point that they wanted to adapt him as like a Inquisitor, which I don't like either because that's almost too underpowered. I think he should be almost. He still has to be a secret side project with Vader.
Well, like,
I still like that idea.
So I was thinking, what my thought would be is like that Vader, like the beginning of that game would 100% be as it is, and Vader would find him and take him and train him. But then, if they wanted to adapt it into the canon, like Vader realizes that he's too powerful, so then he like locks him away, and he's like hidden in a back to tank somewhere.
Because again, the Inquisitors are very official, so they don't operate as like the.
They're not the
They're not
secret
assassins, you know. Yeah, they're not like a Maul or like they're not even a Ventress actually.
No.
Like a Ventress is a higher caliber, like in the eyes of like the Sith than like any Inquisitor.
They're like
is,
Sith
realistically.
acolytes,
Like so,
almost.
Vader really Vader would do a Dooku thing at some point. The Sith's job is to one day like betray the Sith, and a lot of the time the Sith kind of have their own person in mind, like to do it. Like once they beat their master, it's like okay, you could be the second now and try to kill me.
Yeah.
Like. Although the Force Unleashed games also have had a massive like stylistic influence on the Fallen Order in like Survivor, I would say.
Yes.
Like I think a lot of like not quite because again they're not quite the same like power
ability to
fantasy at least on that
customize-
grade level, but they especially in terms of the customization in the new one, especially.
There's definitely a lot of influence pulled
Yeah.
from
A lot
Force
of the
Unleashed.
enemy types too, I think.
Well, I've been watching a lot of podcasts with Sam Witwer lately, and
Yeah, he knows the Star Wars.
He
yeah,
is.
well, for one, he knows his Star Wars, but like he sat there in the audition and he did they were like, yeah, you're gonna meditate and you're gonna put your lightsaber together, and in the podcast he's talking about, yeah, but I'm making this face while I'm doing it, and they're like, why are you making that face? Like, they go, he's a Sith, he doesn't know what meditation's supposed to be like, and doesn't know that things are supposed to flow. So it's like trying to force the parts together. Like, it makes sense. And they go, that moment, he goes, in that moment, I got hired for Star Wars. Because,
And then he got hired again and again
Again and
and
again.
again, like for every Sith character they ever.
and then they were
voice
talking
act.
about doing table reads and stuff, and
Yeah.
then like somebody like how he out-geeked
Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni. I'm like, this man is arguably one of the best people for this universe.
Well, him being Maul, like I can't even imagine how much that helped.
Oh, he was
behind-
also the
behind
Emperor
scenes.
too,
Yeah,
which
he
made
was.
it
Yeah, and
like,
the son in the Mortis arc.
Yep.
Yes. Man,
I-
he really is in there.
Yeah,
all the
he's
time.
a lot of
he-
things. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite Star Wars video games that I could play over and over and over again is Episode 3. The Episode 3 game. And I think that that's the best adaptation of like Star Wars into a video game, because like something that I hear a lot of people complain about, and I complain about it too with the Force with Fallen Order and Survivor, is like Cal Kestis will walk up to a locked door and I'll be like, I gotta go now. But like in that game, you could like cut open doors and
Or
like
just force it
Yeah.
open. Yeah, like
That's one of the
'Cause
best
again,
I think,
power
movie
fantasy.
adaptation games.
Yeah.
I love the alternate ending. Love it.
That was fun. The dual mode was fun. They
very
had
much
the
leaning into the
separate missions.
non-canonness on that
I know,
side.
yeah, but it was cool because people like try to reference it a whole bunch. Like, oh, what if? People love doing what ifs
Yeah.
on YouTube. So it's one of those things where people love
was
to.
creative,
go.
yeah.
I remember getting that one for my birthday, and I was like, "This is good stuff." And it was one of the best movie adaptation games. I think I would second it to the Lord of the Rings ones. I don't know if you guys remember those, but it was up there. There's been a lot of bad movie adaptation video games.
We don't talk about the Shire here.
Yeah, but they
Oh, we don't.
I'm
It's
kidding,
oh,
I'm
Jesus.
kidding.
Okay.
I think in memorability, yeah, the Force Unleashed games definitely like hold up pretty well. I never played games I never played that are like kind of held in the same regard are like the KOTOR games because I never had a PC. So like, but I love the KOTOR like lore.
They're on
Everything that
Xbox
I've
now,
like picked.
so if you
Are
have
they on
Xbox.
Xbox?
See, I
might
bought it.
have to-
I bought
yeah.
it, and I bought them all, and I played it, and I like a little bit, and I'm just like, I didn't get the hype. I love the again, like you said.
Well, they're
the
very
storyline, but-
specific. They're MMOs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like,
And I've never been a huge
normally I love
MMO
that
guy
stuff,
either.
but I'm just like, this isn't doing it for
no
me.
more RPG.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the story side of the games. I'm not a big technical guy, side mission guy, anything like that. I just
Just love
like
the aesthetic
story.
of that
Um,
era.
Yeah,
The Knights of the Old Republic games, I love that they brought in Revan and
Well, so many of the
Nihilus
Sith from that
and
era are
so
like-
many of the ancient Sith that are so powerful, and it's like, yes, this is
Bane,
what I
Malgus.
need.
Well, Bane's later, but Malgus, like
Yeah.
Malgus especially, who they just use in the basically the reoccurring antagonist of the Old Republic cinematics, which are nothing like the games, but are a great
so
piece of
cool.
some of the best piece of Star Wars media. I actually showed you the Star Wars Old Republic cinematics this morning.
Oh, they're
those
great.
are some of the weirdly enough these little 5 to 6 minute trailers for KOTOR are some of the best Star Wars in existence, and like every trailer comment on those fucking trailers is like, why didn't the sequels do this? Like,
The one cinematic inspired me and Julien short film.
Those cinematics inspired a great many fan films.
Um,
There are shots you see in fan films all the time that are always just right out of, particularly the shots of like Jedi and Sith running at each other.
Yep.
And then like anything that's like well, even just like think about it. Like there's the lady has a Force like pike.
Yeah.
Like come on. Like in the newest one, like Malgus, who's like even more like cyborg than he ever has been before. The one that came out when they announced they were gonna do because they were supposed to do the remakes.
Yeah.
And then the studio went bust basically.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they
So
have
sad.
yeah. So we're not getting those. But in the most recent one, you have Malgus who like literally kills the one master, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna hold a red and a green just because that's a really cool stylistic thing that you've never seen before. Like, and that's what every time they did those trailers, it's like, here's a new thing you've never seen. Here's a girl like who's just igniting her saber like a gun, like into your chest, and then immediately shutting it off. Like,
Yes.
it's not quite the
I
game.
don't see anything wrong with that.
Exactly. Like it's not exactly.
guys, we really need to talk about the elephant in the room, though. Lightsaber control. Okay.
Yeah, they've
You
never
can't
been
just
particularly-
have lightsabers out there for everybody to use. Okay, you can't just point it at somebody. No, I'm kidding. No.
Real quick on Starkiller, can I say one last thing, and then we can move on to probably Battlefront, right?
Well, I wanted to just highlight something really quick with the Force Unleashed with
Okay.
Wii.
yeah.
That game has so much potential to bring in. The Wii gave us so much potential for everything we wanted in a lightsaber game.
That is true.
And then you get the Force Unleashed, and you're like, yes, this is it. And then no.
They're like, now you gotta press the buttons on it.
You gotta press the buttons to do
No
this,
motion
and-
control.
That's probably one of the biggest letdowns of all time. Is that the Wii never did a proper like lightsaber
Yeah.
game. They did the Clone Wars Duel one too, and I was like, oh, cool, you could do that. No, it's just
Yeah.
you look like Conor McGregor. We're going up for the
I'm
box.
curious. For Force Unleashed, I'm curious how like Starkiller's like rights work. Like, because I don't think that studio exists anymore, do they?
It's
Which
Lucas Games, isn't it?
Which
I guess
studio
it
was
would. Yeah,
it?
I guess it would have just evolved into. I know they've renamed whatever. It was Lucas Arts, and now it's Lucas Games, right?
Oh man, I couldn't confirm that.
But either way, if there's not any like problem with like putting Starkiller in anything, then he'd be a great antagonist in the
Yeah, it was
third.
LucasArts.
Okay,
Yeah.
but either way, he'd be a great. But then they should still own him then. Then he would be a great antagonist in the third Jedi game.
Yep.
Like genuinely, like if he's like, like it could work. It could work really well.
I mean, listen. Oh, no, I can't talk. We can't talk about it because.
Nope. Stop.
What can't you
Well,
talk
no,
about?
because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's listening and who hasn't played the game yet.
And
Oh,
also,
it's
without
been out for
Julien
2
here,
months. You-
Julian here, it's just not something we should talk about. We'll respect Julien on that regard.
All right.
All right, what are we talking about now? Battlefront,
Battlefront,
the first
yeah.
one.
So
what are we
let's
doing?
start with the first ones,
Yeah.
because those were OG.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah,
Perfection.
perfection for sure.
particularly 2.
Yes, 2.
2 was great, but for the first one wasn't bad either. The first one was a good test.
Yeah.
It was a good. Hey, it was a good cornerstone.
Yeah.
So I haven't played the first one in so long though. But then when they relaunched the first one, just real quick, side by side here, how do you go?
Oh, Jordan's going on a rant.
How do you go from having a great cornerstone of what is Battlefront to the shit that EA released
Yeah, like
as their Battlefront 1? No, EA, you fucked up,
yeah, they did.
and you're still fucking up.
I mean, weirdly enough,
Whoa.
EA having
Jordan's
the Star Wars
salty that they took
license-
the servers offline because that's all he used to play.
EA for one of the Star Wars for having the Star Wars license for as long as they had, and thank God that it expired and that it's good. Like as much as the Respawn ones, which are kind of EA, have been good. Like thank God we've getting this expanded and other studios can explore it because like
Yeah.
the fact that
I'm
it
fearful,
is
though.
fitting that Lucasfilm picked EA. Like it makes sense. Like if let's pick which company should we get to make our games, incompetent people. It's like, oh yeah, the company that gets named like the worst like company in America like every other year. Like I'm not even joking. Like they get EA's been named like most unsatisfying company like
Terrible.
out of
They're
multiple
terrible.
times.
It's
like,
embarrassing because
Okay.
they
we'll
really
trust
pushed
them with the
DLC.
greatest franchise.
I will agree with you on that, but if they never put out Battlefront, they probably never would have stopped with the microtransactions. Like there was the biggest upset.
Battlefront 2, the
Yeah.
new one, yeah.
The biggest upset in like gaming history was when they microtransactions like
So-
all over the place.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yeah.
what was your first impressions of Star Wars Battlefront the first time you played it? On the originals, not the new ones.
Yeah, we'll get into the new ones later.
Yeah, the new ones are rough. Actually, I like the second one. But the first one, I played it over my cousin's house, and I was like, this might be the greatest Star Wars game of all time. Because it was so nice to have a game that didn't revolve around Jedi. There had been some, but not like that. Like, you can go, and there was a lot of different levels that they kind of took away and messed around with the second time. But I was like, there's so many vast levels, and there's so many Easter eggs in the levels. Like you can do Bespin and go into the where
cooling chambers
the
and
cooling
stuff.
chambers.
Yeah.
You can go in that and follow the whole pathway. And I was like, I could play as a droideka. Like that was really something. Just to see back then. I love. I mean, that's what it. The prequel trilogy is the one that I grew up around, and that was all. The Clone Wars. It was dominated by the Clone Wars. So to be able to actually live it, like play it, whether
Every kid's dream is just to play as a clone trooper.
It's great.
Like, in the Clone Wars. Like, come on. Like, even if it's not like if you don't like the prequels, like you want to play as a clone trooper.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
the ads were great because there was all these people that were playing the game and they were like, yeah, or they'd be like, yeah, he hasn't been the same since Hoth. Like they were like pretending like they're like
Post-traumatic
veterans.
stress.
Yeah,
Weirdly
playing
enough,
on it.
on the story mode like side of it, because particularly for Battlefront, does Battlefront 1 have a story mode? The original?
Okay, so I'll be honest. I've never played the first Battlefront.
I will be honest.
No, we had it. I remember.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. We played it significantly less than the other one, but we did play it. But the new one the Battlefront 2 was better.
Then maybe I just don't remember it.
Yeah, it is very much this. They very much feel like the same game, but like almost that they just developed.
They
it
kind
too
of
further.
merged into each other for me.
Yeah,
like
some of the maps are very, very similar, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the classes are basically identical.
it's been a long time for me for Battlefront 1, and I even tried to, like, when we started talking about this, tried to go find it to go replay so
It's
I could
expensive,
not.
right?
Yes, and listen, I'm balling on a budget, baby.
I was gonna play some games in anticipation for this, but I was playing Fallout New Vegas.
Valid. As long as you weren't playing The Last of Us, we're good. Anyways,
we had to bring it up again for every episode.
no, they kind of merged together for me. Like,
It's the same, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same. I don't.
I mean,
I think it did have a
the
story mode, but it was like very minute. and it was like, we want you to play split screen and we want you to play multiplayer.
Also,
and
EA
stuff
did the
like
same
that.
thing to
Split
honor it by not putting any story in the first one and the new ones, and then rushing the story in the second one. So they did it. They honored it,
And taking away
yeah, it's
everything that made the originals good.
We're not talking about the new
I
ones.
have to admit, I was shocked when you were showing me those trailers and the EA logo came up, and I'm like, because obviously you play a lot of sports games,
Yes.
and I don't know. I think the jury's pretty much decided that even some of their sports games are lazy.
They're the same. Yeah, they're a reprint every year.
It's
They
tough,
don't
yeah.
really. I mean, there are occasionally a big jump, but there's like, I mean, because does EA do FIFA?
EA does FIFA, NHL, Madden.
And everybody hates FIFA, but they play it because it's really the only
FIFA's actually the worst
soccer
offender
game.
of the bunch. Weirdly
Well,
enough.
Yeah.
What I say,
I
so
absolutely
to defend,
hate sports games
Yeah, they did
so
that.
much.
Yes, because they're just
We're gonna
they're
talk
very-
They're
sports
just
ball
the
for a second.
I'm
exact
fine with that.
same
Well, also
game.
they're for a different audience than a lot of other gamers are for. Like a lot of people that play sports games don't play a lot of other video games. It's
Yes.
this weird kind of
Typically,
Because part of the sports
non-cross-section,
game attraction is not just the playing of the game; it's the management of the team,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously you're a fantasy guy too, so
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of the guys that
Yeah.
like that, because you're also kind of learning about players and stuff.
Rich, you're off
EA
screen a
did
little bit.
EA did a really, really good
There you
job
go.
of taking that away for a while too. Really good. Oh, this works. Let's not bring
so
it
in
back.
regards to, EA has spent a lot of time trying to use Madden and FIFA to test things for other games.
Oh, okay.
So in Madden, and then I know this isn't really the demographic. I'm going to defend EA for like 10 seconds, but because I hate them with a passion most of the time.
Bootlicker.
Yeah. Listen, I'm about to be a sellout.
Are they sponsoring
Sponsor
you? Tell
us,
us
yeah.
how.
Well, I'll say nice things about you instead.
If they
So-
sponsor this show, I want.
Yeah, I'll say
I want
nice
royalties.
things
I want
instead,
full-time co-host duties.
I want royalties, 10% every time.
I will fluff them every time.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a Last Jedi then every time.
What they've been doing in Madden is they've been using a lot of sensor tech for the mocap. They've been trying to get the players to go in there and do realistic catches to make sure that the mocap and stuff is done properly. So when they do go to other games, now EA Sports is different than EA Arts in
It's like
gaming.
they're using the data they collect.
They're using the data
for
they
other-
collect
okay.
to create better games moving forward.
like movement and
but
just
thank
analyze.
God they don't have Star Wars. Unfortunately, Ubisoft does.
Oh my God! It is Ubisoft. You're right. It is not good.
So we're about to get now.
Well,
Allegedly,
Ubisoft's hit or miss. Okay.
allegedly, we're gonna
Always
get a
awful.
live-action open world,
Okay,
No Man's
I'm-
Sky.
That's not gonna be
style.
good.
Hold on. I think it's going to be pretty good.
No, it won't be.
I think it will be.
Let's get back to Battlefront. My point is that when EA released it, EA did
It's a great idea.
Lucas,
It's
Lucas Arts and EA did a fairly good job with the first games. And they only took a handful of people originally from Lucas Arts
yeah.
over when they did the next Battlefronts. And they're like, hey, I don't remember if we did this in the next game. Well, let's do it here. And then you basically get, with the old games versus the new games, you went from great ground battles to an open world kind of style running, very open map, original Halo. It was almost Halo-esque,
Yeah,
but Star Wars.
They turned it into
The
a
vehicle stuff is really neat because you can just pop it. Yeah, like Halo. You're right.
Yeah.
It probably drew a lot of
Weirdly
influence from
enough, people wanted, and this is a weird request, and it probably isn't the most palpable one-to-one thing ever. But what a lot of people, these people that played the original games, wanted was just kind of a reskin,
A remastered version, yeah.
With modern AI. Because again, even as much as you the original Battlefronts are also kind of power fantasies as well, because you can just mow through AI. Let's be real. And those games are not there's one in the AI and the bigger maps, or the 32 map. If there's an empty fucking turret, it overrides everything else in their character to run to the turret, and then you can just shoot every guy running up to the turret. It's they're not exactly the most complicated things in the world. But they just wanted improve the guns. We just want class systems, which they ended up going back to, I think, in the Battlefront 2, right?
Yeah.
And the
One of
newer
my
one-
favorite things on the original Battlefront 2
Big maps.
is the quick change class
Yeah.
option. You could run up to a checkpoint and immediately just switch your class.
Yeah.
And then
That's
unlock
what
them
I-
too as you go. Too. I
Yeah,
thought that was always neat.
That's what
Yeah.
I wish they did.
And you would
in
keep
the
them.
new one.
You eventually, if you got enough points, you would keep the better classes, and then
Yeah.
you would just earn them, and you'd have them the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas the new one was you might get the hero if someone else isn't using it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, clone Magna
So-
Guards with the chain gun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
my
God.
God.
But we get into with the first games, I love the story mode in Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Good story.
The 501st
Yes.
journals. That's the way I'm going to call them because I don't
That's
really
what
know
they
how
are.
to describe them.
It's very non-canon now.
Now it is, but
It's a very different take on the clones from what the canon
makes them more
thing is
personable.
now, so
It
And they
makes
got
it-
Tamora
in a
Morrison
weird
to
way.
voice him.
Yeah, and it was
is iconic, and there's so many memes that have come from like his voice just saying stuff in the Star Wars fandom.
Well, there are a lot of channels
Like-
on YouTube. Geetsley's uses them too.
Yeah, yeah, mhm.
And they use the planet zooming in and stuff like that. I love it.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
But like in the first Battlefront games, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna go through this kind of quick here for me. The ground combat was a solid 8. There's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
You know, hitboxes and stuff like that. Looking at it now, back then when I was a kid playing it for the first time, boom, 10, solid 10. Vehicular combat, very similar to Halo.
There's variety in the vehicle combat.
There was
was.
so
like,
much
you could
variety.
be in like a Hellfire like droid, which is like they're doing like 4 shots in like in the prequel.
But like you got a lot, and like Kashyyyk's vehicle combat in Battlefront 2 was phenomenal. I'll give that again 1 through 10. I'm gonna give that a 6 though, only because the vehicles were OP. They were so OP. It was so
were
hard to
cool.
destroy them. The levels and the worlds were great because you really got world building. Yeah, you had to play on some of the classics, but then you're like, oh, I don't know enough about this world. Like Kashyyyk in Battlefront 2, you got to see past the beachfront. And I'm like, yes.
Well, a ton of the prequels maps are literally just maps
Well, they
from
did.
the
I
Order
think the first one
66
had
montage.
2 Kashyyyk
Yeah.
ones,
Like,
right? I think
literally.
the original, for the very first one, I think it had 2 Kashyyyk levels. There was a
There is,
beachfront
yeah.
one, and then there was one up in.
It was the refinery area, but then they made it one for the
made it-
next game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, like ship maps were really big. Geno's
The
was
game modes were
massive, too.
classic multiplayer game modes. You had Supremacy, you had Search, kind of like
The Hunt one was really cool, where you can play as like you can do the one where you play as the Tuskens, the Jawas, the
Yeah.
Ewoks,
The Wampas.
the Wamp.
The
Yeah,
Wampa one was particularly fun.
That was
Because the
very
Wampas always won.
always.
The Wampas always
You were
But-
overpowered as the
Yeah,
Wampa.
like, you
you
just
literally like walk into a room with like 100 people.
Which
just,
they
like,
did that in. They did do like
I
an
think you could do
Ewok
the
hunt
Gungans, right?
thing.
You could do the Gungans.
Yeah, they had all sorts of fun. That was why that game was so like fun because it was just had all these different like little like like it had the main like storyline,
Your main core,
and it had
yeah.
like the main multiplayer you wanted to call it with like Conquest and like I think that was the main game where
Yeah.
you just like take the different objectives throughout the game and have the enemy meter go down. Basically, that was what we always played.
so then. But if when you
the
look
hero
at it,
mode.
Hero mode was the best mode. Hold on, like we gotta talk about
I was
hero
getting
mode.
to that. We
Like-
all keep jumping in. I know we don't let me talk most of the time, but come on. I was still on my rating, but overall fun mode, just strictly out of nostalgia, I would give it a 10 out of 10. And at the time, a 9 out of 10 because I would sleep over at my cousin's house all the time and be like, "We're playing Battlefront." And he's like, "Yeah, we're playing Battlefront." Like, is that even a question?
Yeah, like,
But
that was all
hero
we played.
mode
me
in
and Jack.
Battlefront 2. Nothing beat it.
What do they call it? Assault?
Nothing beat it.
Was it assault? They call
Galactic Assault.
Galactic
it?
Assault.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that
you
was
could
cool.
like back in the day, I didn't
get bored of
realize
that
that
game.
you were playing online. Like I didn't realize that.
Well,
And-
yeah, you played. Well, that's if you were lucky enough to play online.
Yeah.
Some of us still had dial-up internet.
Well, whenever me and Christian used to play, like we would play either Conquest or Heroes versus Villains, and like hopping into a Heroes versus Villains match, there was literally like 300 people just running around. It was always on Tatooine. There was so many people just running around. Like you would walk into like on one of the side streets, and
There's
there'd be
like
like
5 Darth Vaders.
Yes.
Although we just
This isn't canon.
yeah. Although we play the AI, we played against the AI a lot. I would remember because that was fun. And you would just breeze through them.
So Matt, we'll go
We played
into
the
you
story mode a lot.
Story mode was so.
We would
fun.
like just replay the story mode, like weirdly
constantly.
enough.
Well, you have to because it was so good.
Honestly,
but-
yeah, it's just like objectives.
Matt,
but, like
with the original Battlefronts,
Yes.
you're kind of going through your A through E here, of where are you at in regards to your list?
All right. So we're doing the number system.
That's what I'm doing.
The number
because
system, which I think is fair.
I don't know how to rank it any other
yeah.
way.
I think the ground combat was. I think it was pretty standard bearer for that time. Like where like I don't even know if Call of Duty was popular at the time, but like Medal of Honor. It was
think
nice.
it's starting to
You
be
could
popular.
rotate. It was probably, I think, it's starting around that time. I never
Like
got
Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah.
I never got super into COD,
No, it
but
was,
like Medal of Honor. And there was a
I mean,
couple
there's
of
a time period.
SOCOM.
Call of Duty 3 Big Red 1. That
Hey-
was out at the same time.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I remember I would go back and forth.
Halo, stuff like that. It was really cool. You get your blaster rifle, and you could switch off to a blaster pistol, and so on and so forth. So that was always really cool to me. I'd probably give it a 9. I thought it was really neat. I like the capture the flag type idea where you're capturing bases, and some of there was one I think was the best spin on that one. It was really really cool. It was like a bridge, and it was so heavily contested. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're.
It's like
I
hanging
have
over air,
flashbacks.
and it's like there's like they're just battling over it the entire for
that
the
might be
majority of each battle.
The Kiatimundi Death Planet. Megiddo.
Megiddo's
I
another
think it
one
might
that
have
had
been
it,
Megiddo.
but the very first one Best Spin had 2 levels, and one was a specific bridge, and no matter which side you're on, you're fighting over it the entire time because there's 2 big bases on
It
both
was a
sides
kill
of it.
funnel.
Yeah.
That was the only way to describe it. And then you would get, if you were lucky enough to get a jetpack trooper, that would be like
Yes.
the only way to get across. And then you're like, as soon as you land, you're dead. I'm
That's
like,
it.
what the hell?
You get deep fried.
I
Yeah,
have flashbacks.
So, I would go a 9 for that. The vehicular stuff, I think that was probably the most like amazing thing that I can be running, just running, shooting, and then I'm gonna just jump in a Republic gunship, and I was like, man, or a droid starfighter. Like I thought that was cool. Just the ability to kind of go to and from, and that's always something I really enjoyed with those things. Is that those games is the vehicle combat. The space battles were really, really, really cool back then.
Most underappreciated side of that game. Now, I
Yes.
still can't fly those things for the life of me, but that was definitely underappreciated.
That was probably one of my favorite
Yeah,
game
we
modes.
we would play that a lot because we would play the other game mode that was like the kind of not the it wasn't a story mode, but it was like another weird game mode where you would go from like planet to planet.
Yeah, you were
and
trying to capture. You have to
the
bet them
galaxy,
like
basically.
twice.
Yeah.
It was like contested
And, and you
or
would have to do
owned.
and a lot of people, from what I've learned, would just skip the space battle one because they were too much.
I liked
but
the
I
space
always
battle.
liked them because you would get in a gunship, put that on the other ship, and then you'd have to fight them from the inside.
Yeah.
That's what I
Like-
would do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one who would do that.
Oh yeah, it was the same thing. So vehicular combat, I would do that at a 10 because it was like that's like your dream. I think is just to have that option. To be like, yeah, I don't want to do vehicles right now. I just do this or hop in a vehicle and just do whatever. And they had everything with the exception of like the Slave One or
didn't have the-
Boba Fett ship as they call it now, or the Millennium Falcon.
We call
or
it
some
the
of
Slave
big-
One on here.
The
yeah.
Okay,
the
I'm okay.
Hellfire
All right, I don't want to
gunship.
get canceled. So
This is a safe space.
so I'll do 10.
We call it the slave one.
I'll do
It's like-
so 9 for ground combat, 10 for vehicular. The levels and worlds was really neat because it was so cool that they encompassed everything and they made
Variety.
it the variety and they did it true to the movies, right?
The place you went to, it wasn't just like a location that just happens to be on
Right.
one of the planets, which is what basically is what a lot of the newer EA ones, where it's like, hey, this is the planet they were on.
They were on.
Nobody was here
Yeah.
during the movie, but
Yeah,
but
right.
it's like,
we're going.
but this is a planet, Like
This is the backstreet of Naboo if
like-
you want to be there.
like I'm thinking of the one. I'm trying to think of the one modern map that I always play on whenever I log into the new Battlefront every once in a while. What's the one on the old game had like the Acklays?
Oh, Felucia?
Yeah, because they have a Felucia on the new one as well, if I remember correctly. But it's not like anywhere.
No,
to
it's
see
not even
stars.
close.
It's like the only thing that's cool in
It's
it.
like a little town.
Yeah, the only thing that's cool in it has like from the one very early like episode of Clone Wars where they're like helping the town from Hondo. Like they have the same style of house. Like, on the map. That's the only fun thing in the entire map is that they live in like the same village from this random ass Clone Wars episode. Like it's like they're using the same architecture.
Right.
But otherwise, like it's like nobody was here during the movies. Like it's
I always appreciate that you can go into these things and not just battle, right? It's not just we're throwing out. No, if we're going to Geonosis, we're doing the Clone Wars battle, the Battle of Geonosis. You have the option. We're using the what do they call them? The crawlers. Is the Clone War? The Clone,
ATSDs?
I think that's what they were called. They were like it was like their base. You could pop up, and you can control it. But that was also a checkpoint base too, and they kept restocking.
it was like an
Geonosis having all
AAT,
sorts of
I
nooks
think,
and
and
crannies,
also
something
all
like-
over the place.
AAT?
So yeah, I can't remember what the heck it was.
Like I
called.
remember there was
Shame
like a
on
big
me.
higher area on Geonosis that you would like look down on the rest of the map that you would
Yes.
try to control.
Nope,
That
That's
there's crash ships and stuff everywhere.
ATRT.
It's just like-
ATRT.
Was that okay?
No, those are the walkers. Hold on.
Yeah. The
I'm
big
disappointing
crawler.
myself right
But
now.
even
guys.
still,
Sorry,
like
guys.
like Hoth, for example, if you're the Empire, you get the AT-ATs, you know, and the ATSTs. They're crawling, and there's a base, and yeah,
What,
that
the
was
sixth-legged one?
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah,
ATTE
ATST, yeah.
walker.
I
It
felt.
might be the ATTE. Sorry, we're
No, you're fine.
Squirreling.
I'm glad you're trying to figure it out. So I always appreciate that. So I would have to say the levels and worlds were a 10. Obviously, always can be improved. Game modes are always fun. I felt like there was more variety. Again, we're going to talk about the newer ones in a moment here, but for what they were back in the time, there's a lot of variety. You know, the Galactic Conquest, instant action, the story modes, hunt, assault, all that. I thought that was pretty well. Of course, you always wish for some more. I give it like an 8 or a 9.
It's just wild the amount in the game that you could do. Like, it's like, oh, you have a story mode, you have like a multiplayer, you have like a bunch of random like side fun things that like again modern games don't have the side fun things anymore like at all, which is why I think a lot of like the nostalgia and even beyond just like how fun the experience is, like the side things are what a lot of people remember and why it's remembered fondly, I think.
For sure. Yeah, now you got to pay like $17 for this.
Yeah, $70 for a game that's not complete. That's the new AAA.
Do you want Anakin without his glove on? Here's $20.
Do you want one skin? Like, and
The fun factor wise, I gotta give this a superior level of 10 because I'm a big couch co-op person. That's very important to me for gaming. I never got in the online stuff. I don't like it. I'd rather be there in person with somebody, either just laughing, talking shit, whatever it may be. And I always I have the newer Star Wars Battlefront 2, but every time I do a video game night at my studio, I'm always setting up the OG, always, and people are always playing it. So I'd have to give a 10 on the fun factor. So very high regards for the original ones. I would say.
Jack, 1 through 10, rapid fire.
Because
we've all kind of touched on all the highlights.
I think honestly for me, just because as it was such a big part of my childhood, I think it was just even today, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Even with the janky tank controls and as much as I'd rage quit because something stupid happened, it's so much fun to play.
I think this is the most memorable Star Wars game of all time. Just for nostalgia purposes, I'll give it a 10. I don't even need to go through the list of stuff. I'm mostly positive of all of it.
I mean, that's a pretty fair consensus, I think, for all. I mean, it was such an impactful
It's
game in our childhood.
but it's a 2005 game. So what's the
And still, it still holds up well today.
Honestly,
I think, and people clamor for it, even compared to the new one that has the shiny new graphics and new functionality, new playable options, new game modes. People are still yo, give me the original.
Those games
get to the new ones now,
the people that bootleg it now and
the modders,
the modders that have brung back the multiplayer on that game. You'll see hundreds and hundreds of people playing it still.
Oh yeah. That game to me.
Yes, let's move on to the new ones now. Actually,
that game to me, comparison to the other ones, is just the new ones is just you can't beat it.
No.
If I could take. The game was so popular that they were building a 3 and 4 before they were even launched.
God, we were robbed of 3.
Yeah, 3 was nearly done from everything that I've ever read.
Oh, really?
I didn't know. It was ready to release.
They just released a statement that said that fans were robbed because it was literally set to release.
I did say that.
And then they canceled it a few months before.
Yeah, and they were and 4 was already in development. It was
Have you guys seen the gameplay footage of 3?
It's very close to what EA's Battlefront 1 was.
Oh, really?
You could go prone in that game. Oh my god. You could the test footage I saw was on Coruscant, and you could run and jump off the side of the map and grab into an LAAT and start flying around with it looked so cool.
Well, that and level, what was it, 33 or whatever it was.
There's supposed to be ground of space. The transition, if I remember correctly, you could fly into space from the ground battle.
Oh,
robbed 100%. But now in comparison to the new ones,
which they didn't have those.
All right,
they could do it in 2009, but they couldn't and unrelease it.
My hate. So my daughter loves the new ones because she doesn't know the old ones. So forgive.
Yeah,
What are
I
you
forgive
yeah,
her.
doing?
that's-
Why
yeah.
aren't? Why haven't
I forgive her, but no, she. You know what though? Because it's like the new ones are like freaking tower heist games, like or tower defense games. That's the best way.
Yeah.
I got a mobile game on my phone that's better than the new EA Battlefront one.
Okay, yeah, let's. We don't even need to talk about the first one.
No, we
It's
need to
like-
talk about
The
it.
first
We
one
need
was
to talk
so
about
bad.
it because it was
There's
so
like
bad.
4 maps, and like right, like there's
Yeah.
like nothing on because there's nothing in the game, right? It's just
It's
there's
like
nothing there.
Bespin.
There's no story
It's
mode.
like that one lava planet.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Endor.
Endor.
I remember
One lava
buying the
planet.
game.
And then,
I
like-
was
remember
like,
the name of the lava planet?
No, that's how much I don't
It
remember
was
that game.
Mustafar.
No,
Was it Mustafar?
it was
in
not.
that? It was not Mustafar. There's
It was not.
I could have
Mustafar.
sworn it was.
no.
Mustafar.
I don't think there's Mustafar in either one of those games.
There's not.
I think it's that one weird one that you go and visit in like the second game where they've now made his lore of like that the Empire, no, the rebels
Yeah, please
met
Google
over this
because I'm
planet
pretty
before
sure
they
it
went
is,
to the
but
Death
It's
Star.
not.
The game turned into a tower defense
I know.
game. Like,
It's called
seriously, I have-
Solus.
Yeah, Solus. That's it. Yeah,
Okay,
not
well,
Mustafar.
not a non-relevant planet.
Yeah.
So
no, the rebels met there before they
Lando
took
was
out
there
the
one
second
time.
Death Star or
like,
something. I don't know.
It was so bad. Like EA took a shit on a platter, took a picture of it, uploaded it to a disc, and said, "Hey," and threw a Star Wars title on it and said, "Here you go."
what the fuck? I think those.
I know.
I think
And
the
I spent
games-
$60 on that fucking game.
I think you can enjoy yourself while playing those games, even like both of them. But like, I think I think it's sacrilege just to like
Call it Star Wars?
No, to call it Battlefront. like
Yeah.
like you could have like I don't care if you like took Star Wars and made it a generic like first person shooter or even third person.
Icy
which I think you
Towers
can do.
was a better
But don't
game.
call it Battlefront then. Like the Battlefront franchise was already held like in high regard. You just
They-
called it Battlefront because
they
you
could
wanted
have
to,
called it
like,
like a
say, you could have
Battlefront.
just
Depends on
called
the
it Star
popularity,
Wars like shoot 'em up or something.
They
Like I
could
don't
have
know.
called it a
Not
demo.
that, but
Like to save themselves, they could have called it like a demo.
or just called something else because it wasn't going to live. If you weren't going to live up to like the name
Battlefront
Battlefront, then like why would you do it? You're just shooting yourself in the foot like in the long term. Like
because they were just following Activision and Treyarch and all
and then
of them
they
other
could have
ones.
and then they had the audacity to like call the second one with
Battlefront
which
2.
we have a lot. I mean, which again we have much more to talk about with the second one because there's actual
they did a
stuff
very
to
good
talk
job.
about.
Yeah,
like
the first one I was like, I paid for it and I gotta buy more stuff to play it.
yeah, like I played like 2
This is
weeks
so
of it and then
stupid.
I was bored of it because
I
there was no
played. I
content.
played it for like a day.
I actually
Yeah,
remember
no,
playing
yeah,
like a
but
couple weeks of
that
it. But,
game. That game makes me want to be a Sith. Okay,
I actually like the
I actually
gameplay.
wanna
The first
kill
one
young
was
The
Like-
gameplay is great, but like the limited.
Also, in terms of how these games look, besides the maps being weird, like in kind of very modern, like reskins of like kind of weird, like other shooter maps, they do look good. Like
They look great.
like the CGI of the new games, they do look like, especially 2, like even stuff with the story mode stuff, like does look like they look great for Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
nothing there is like to complain about, but it's more like what's under the
What's under the
design.
hood.
Yeah, under the hood.
I
yeah.
just feel like they took Star Wars skins and overslapped it on one of their worst-selling games and said, "Here you go." Like I feel like
the
it was
first one,
Grandma's
the first
boy.
one
It was very
especially.
fitting
Yes.
of the Disney Star Wars relationship at that point.
Yeah,
it was
like,
very
it was
fitting.
very
of it.
telling of
Do
how-
you
was like,
guys think
they-
that Jordan doesn't like Battlefront 1?
I don't like Battlefront 2. So like I don't like Battlefront.
What?
hate to flow through you. Listen, Kanan, you need to calm it down now.
Battlefront
what?
2 is a lot better than Battlefront
No,
1.
it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will agree that I
Eventually,
eventually it took time.
yeah, it took 2 years,
It
and
took
then immediately
people
once
Okay,
it got good,
coming-
they then
They
discontinued
fixed it.
development.
Yeah.
As a
Like-
person who doesn't like the multiplayer aspect and
Yeah.
who bought the game just to play the campaign,
Yeah.
I liked the game a lot more than
Okay, we need to
Battlefront
talk about 2 different things. But like, there's the second. Who likes the Battlefront 2 campaign?
I do.
Okay, I don't.
I played it bits and pieces. I didn't love it. I didn't love
I
it.
don't like it at all.
It
I-
added more
I hate
depth
that
to the
campaign.
game. That's more what I enjoy about it. It
'Cause that's
added more depth and more expansion to the universe. It started to make things like Jakku make sense.
No, I don't like it because was one because this goes to
I
my
know where this
sequel
is
there,
going.
as always.
This is because
But
you don't like
it's-
Luke Skywalker.
No, but because they took those fucking what's those 3 that trilogy of books that was like made right after like that was like up into Force Awakens, Breaking Shatterpoint. What how was it called?
Something like that. Shatterpoint, I think.
Can you look
That's
up?
worth a Google.
Yeah,
Let's
someone look
see.
Google those 3 that Star Wars trilogy I'm talking about.
There's
once Disney
Catalyst.
took Catalyst and then like Aftermath and there was a few different
Shatterpoint,
ones.
I think, was the other one.
Shatterpoint
It's
was
all
a Mace
it's
Windu
all
one.
Aftermath.
The Star Wars Aftermath trilogy. A lot of what happens in that storyline is very much like from like plot points that are being like described in the background and like at different points in Aftermath trilogy. And the Aftermath trilogy is dog shit. And it's fucking there's nothing in that makes sense. Like if you look at like the lore, like it's so yada yada, and that's a common thread when you look at a lot of the literature. That and I remember liking that book at first, but then like when you go back and like realize that none of this was actually like connected. Like they just had a dude that they hired to write something that wasn't going to be interrelated, and it might end up coming back in the sequels, and it might end up working. But it's fine. We'll write ourselves into a corner where the Empire was dead by Jakku a year later. Like they totally took down the entire Empire like in a year. Like not like the original, not like the old canon where it took like 15 years to purge the galaxy of the Empire. Like no. They did it in a year and then they all ran away. Like that's much better. And that's basically what you have to play through in the Battlefront 2 campaign.
What I will say is what I did like about Battlefront 2 is the campaign to counter you, because you get to see Operation Cinder. You get to see that there was so much more.
I don't mind Cinder. Like I think Cinder's cool only in the I like the Empire drone. Like the Emperor drone. That's a cool thing. Cool. I want to see that at some point like in live action, because I think that was a cool concept. I just and even Operation Cinder, I do like the idea that like if I can't have the Empire, nobody can have it. I think that's at least kind of what the Empire would do. Although like it's kind of I don't know.
It's a Sith move.
But again, but he's alive. You know what I mean?
He's not alive.
He's alive.
Yet.
Like
he's in like some
and like
embryo
multiple and we
Exegol.
already, and because they nobody liked the lore, they've already changed it now. Like so now like he's alive, and like there was actually Empire people. Some of the Empire was allowed to survive and save me, but the ones that didn't save me, no, they're dead. You're specific though.
I like the one meme that's circling the internet right now, and it's Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda after, like at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
and they're all smiling, and they're like, "Should we tell him that the Emperor didn't die?" And they're like, "Nah."
I haven't seen that one. I'm gonna have to find it now.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Somebody had to do it. I'm the chosen one.
I just like the ones like that. To reference those as real quick as ones where like all the Force ghosts are there and they're like talking and they're like, everyone's here.
Yeah.
They'd be like, don't think we forgot. And you see all the younglings come up. And I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else.
But how do you? I guess
I don't. First off, the story one's 4 hours.
Yeah,
it's 4 hours. It's rushed.
Game.
Like, come on, like.
But I don't think that they.
You don't even play as the character they set up half of it. Like they set up. Iden Versio is supposedly like the main character of the game, and half the missions you don't play as her. Half the missions they put you onto an original trilogy character. It's like you're Luke Skywalker now. Luke Skywalker didn't actually fight the Empire after episode because I want to point out that this is what they did in like the Star Wars. Luke Skywalker stops fighting the Empire after episode 6. Like, tell me the lore at any point that Disney has set up, like after episode 6, where Luke does combat with the Empire in a book, in a comic, in the Mandalorian. No,
Disney? No.
Like they exist. Look, the Empire still exists. Like in Mandalorian, when we see Luke Skywalker, he's just fucking wandering around in the wilderness. Like basically, like that's all he's doing. Like what's he doing?
I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens during.
He's looking for rocks in like a band.
Yeah.
Like he finds Luke Skywalker finds the Emperor's storehouse. Like the compass though, the compass that was so important to the movie, and like we saw it for a shot though in the Last Jedi.
It was in one shot.
It was such an important item. I'm glad he found it in the like. Fuck.
All right, so I think
it just ends up linking to everything that I
now
don't
gone
like.
on his episodic
Crystal
rant.
It just inexplicably links to everything I don't like. The world building.
cut his mic.
Like
Take a break.
Get off your soapbox.
oh my god.
All right, real quick. What I like about the game is that there is a story mode. The graphics are
That's a low
amazing. Shut
bar.
up, Christian.
All right, I'm done.
There is a story mode compared to the first one of the EA releases. It's definitely one of those things I was like, yes, thank God. And then thank the Force. Then there's the graphics, the customization that they ended up adding that you can customize clone troopers. I didn't mind the microtransactions, to be completely honest.
Oh, you're weird.
Booleya, booleya.
Because
Sponsor the
wait,
show.
hold up. I was one of those guys. I was one of those guys who was actually good enough to earn points in the game where I didn't have to spend the money.
So then
Oh,
you
the
didn't like the
privilege.
microtransactions. You just played the game
Just
religiously.
one of those guys. Yeah, I think I'd buy anything.
I'm not going to say I didn't spend money on the game, but I didn't mind the fact that you had to go buy the cash just to unlock stuff because it gave me a reason to keep on playing.
Right.
Because I wanted to unlock Han. I wanted to unlock Dooku's pajamas. Okay, these are things that
See, I
as
didn't
soon as I beat the story mode, I pretty much stopped.
No, I play online religiously. Like,
I don't like online gaming. Like, you have the tryhards that like play the game for hours on hours on hours, and then like you spawn into a map and you get killed.
I honestly never liked the flow. I never
So
got into
like-
the flow of the way it's played.
your dad just
the
turned
only
your
time
mic
I ever
back up, so you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the only kind of positive experience I've had, because I don't even like the hero system very much, and I don't like the heroes. When you're playing as the heroes in the newer Battlefront games, they don't feel the same as the heroes
No,
they
like
do not.
in
I'll
the
give you
old
that.
one at
No.
all. And they're also significantly less creative, like in terms of like some of the things they can do.
I
and,
think
like,
flying the ships in space was probably the best addition to the game.
Some of them are very gimmicky as well. Like there's like the like you have Phasma, who's like, here's a turret that we put in the corner and like it shoots you for an hour. And like or like Bosk. I always wanted to play as Bosk. Like that's one of the
Like, oh, wow, I
the 8 villain characters you
I
have
could
in this.
be
One of them should be
BB-8.
Bosk. Like we don't need like
Yeah.
Tarkin.
Yeah,
We
that's
don't
what
need,
a great hero.
Pre Vizsla.
We don't
or
need
I mean, he's the best.
Mandalorians
Like,
in
yeah,
this.
nothing.
I was really upset at the heroes and villains because I felt like they took away a lot. The original ones, they had a plethora
Yeah, like random
of various
side
characters.
characters.
Mace Windu, my brother, Mace Windu, and like Kit Fitzo, and my brother has the Xbox. Has that Xbox One, and it has all these expansion ones. Like I think Kiadi-Mundi's one of the
Yeah.
heroes in that, and I felt like this one dropped the ball with the amount of
looking up
heroes.
the
I don't know if it was
now,
like
actually,
I don't remember if it's
They got very limited in what the heroes are that you could be because
Yeah.
you got.
And it wasn't like a quality thing. It's not like they were taking quantity away for the sake of quality. It's just like, I got these are characters I want to see. Star Wars is so big right now, and this is something I'd like to see in future generations if they ever do it. But just bring them all on. Give
Yeah, the
people the
expansive
option. Give
characters
people
I
are
need
one
a
of the
Lego
things that
Star
Star Wars
Wars
has.
roster-sized battle.
Yes.
Yes, because like in the new ones, you got your sequel. You got your original heroes, your original villains. So you got Luke, Han, Yoda falls into prequels and sequels. I don't know how to classify him.
He's the one you can play as is definitely prequels.
Okay, so you get your 4 heroes: Lando, Leia, Luke, and Han, form the originals. Then you get Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda. Who else?
That's it.
There's one. I thought there was
In
one
the
more.
new ones we're talking about? Or the
Yeah.
And Padme, right? Is it
No,
Padme?
you
No,
can't play
Padme's
as
not
Padme.
in it.
No, there's like such a limited option. I think it's like
It's just Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you get Rey, Finn,
and BB-8.
and BB-8. You don't even get Poe.
Oh, Chewbacca.
Poe's in
Chewbacca.
it.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca's
is in there.
universe.
No, Poe's not in
Poe
there.
is only in there as a flying one.
Yeah,
He's
Poe's
not
not on
in
the
there
ground guy.
as a playable character.
No, he is.
No,
I've
he's
played
not.
as
No.
Poe.
No.
For ground combat? I
Oh,
don't
I'm
think so.
thinking about Finn. Never mind.
You
Yeah,
think
no,
about Finn.
we're talking, but then you get the flying ones, and you get like the same 8. It's the same 4
You don't
ships.
even get to play as Poe. It's just his. It's just
It's
his
a ship.
X-wing.
Yeah.
It's his X-wing, and you get
Yeah.
Kylo Ren's ship, and then it's like okay, and then you get Jango Fett.
And then
the
BB-8's
Falcon and-
one on the side is just a black like
It's
cylinder.
BD-9E.
Like, it's just-
Where is he?
yeah.
Where
I
is
put him
he?
It's
away.
like that's
Ah.
like
He didn't
it's
get-
like
he didn't
like
get
how
them
is this character like in like a hero character in like Battlefront before like hundreds of other characters.
Yo, you could have put R2 in the
like
game.
literally hundreds.
Right.
Like
Chopper.
R2's literally a war hero. Like R2's killed like 5 people like on screen.
Can we?
like
Can we?
like in the
You could
Clone
have put
Wars,
Chopper
like,
in the game.
Chopper.
Chopper,
The biggest
yes.
one that people wanted was Ahsoka.
Dude, they have literally
Yes.
they have the voice lines for Asajj Ventress and Ahsoka done. They were supposed to be added to the game. They were added before the development
Yeah.
was because they killed the development 2 years in. And the best thing about it is they killed the development to make the greatest game of all time. time, Battlefield 5. So, which obviously is a really, really good game that had tremendous success for EA. So it was a great decision to like stop live production on a Star Wars game. Nobody was gonna keep playing that. You didn't have to wait a year to make it to the Mandalorian era where you could have introduced
So many
popular
more
characters.
characters.
Like imagine, because literally, if they lasted a year longer, you would have had, because again,
Mando, Karga.
for much as I don't like this game, like the one thing you can say about the game is when they actually started to like care
about it.
and like do some fun like additions, like because again, some of the special classes that ended up getting added are the special classes are the best part of the game by far. Like there's on the clone side, you can play as like a jet trooper, a clone commando, an ARC trooper. Like come on, like that's like every like dream you ever had. Like merging multiple video games, like adding ARC troopers.
And then you get to customize the armor too. So
exactly.
you could be like a 501st jetpack
commando,
trooper.
like be a commando droid from like Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Like come on, like that's like it's like that level of the game. Once they did that. Like cool, but again, it's hard to care about that when they did it for a year,
and they waited too
long.
a
year in, and then they immediately canceled it when they
if
could
they would
have
have
just
done
kept
it 6 months in,
going.
or like a season story length of like Call of Duty, it would have been fine.
Like imagine if you had a Katana running around in that.
Right?
Matt,
It would have been
you have
just
to take away one thing and add one thing.
What is it? Out of the current ones?
All of them.
Oh, boy.
All 4 in the same ranking.
All right, well, I will start with the add. I would add more. Obviously, I mentioned the heroes, but I'd also add more like armies, I guess. For groups. It's obviously clones, droids, rebels, empire, all great. Those are the bases, first order, I guess now. All great bases, but I would expand. I would make it so you could do a whole army of Gungans. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Why not? Do the Tusken Raiders. Figure out a way to get like the Pikes in there, or just these different like groups. And
a Mandalorian army would be OP.
That's stuff that we want to see. That's opening things up. Like it's great to have the 6 base armies that we have now.
Which again, like whether it's the Ubisoft game, whether it's something else, we are gonna get like that idea of like this big expansive like because even like at the end of this year, like Bethesda has this is a little bit off topic, but like the Starfield coming out, which like the whole vibe of that's their new franchise. But the big thing is that's like a sci-fi version of their usual games, but there's supposed to be like 100 planets in it that you can go to.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of testing.
So I'm saying like if that's almost like if that's able to work, which again there's a big if. Especially because it's Bethesda, it's like that. It's gonna actually be like fun and actually like not just repetitive, but like if it does work and that's like an actual model that's gonna be like efficient and like sustainable and even interesting, then there's no reason you cannot.
It'll set like
Star
a baseline
Wars.
For a sci-fi.
Yeah, there's no reason that you can't then do because again, there's 100 Star Wars planets that have like decent like
we have a whole galaxy of planets that we haven't even touched yet.
Yeah.
Because again, there's also like other
or
games
habitable moons.
I know for PC there are tons of games right now. I forget. I think there's a game called Squad, if I remember correctly, which is just like kind of like it's an Arma type. Yeah, like it's like a military shooter. But there's mods for it that turn it into this thing called like Galactic Contention or something, or Galactic Conquest or something, which just becomes a Star Wars mod. And it's like go look up videos for it. Like that's the type of game that like an actual like AAA developer should be making. It's just like big Kashyyyk worlds, like massive, like not just like a. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. Like an almost open world scale, like Star Wars planets. But like I've seen they have like Venators like in atmosphere, like come by and do like bombing runs, like in this thing.
That's
they
cool
have
stuff.
like gunships so that you can like call in, and like God knows how many classes. They have like Umbara maps,
Right.
And like Clone Wars maps from like just one-off episodes and stuff. Like
Well, that's kind of like what I like. The add-ins to prep for my stuff is like I would add more worlds. Like why don't we have an Umbara map?
yeah,
Like that would be an amazing addition.
That
to
is
the-
something.
In the old games, I understand it.
100%. Yeah.
In the new games, when you're already downloading 130 to 145 gigs, why not?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
It's
Half the time you don't know what that is now, because some of these games, like, you download it, it's like, how is this game only, like, 40, and it's, like, has an entire world in it, and, like, God knows what to do, and then I download, like, a Call of Duty game, it's, like, 200, like, megabytes.
286
It's like, how is
gigs,
this
and it's
holding this much, like, it's like, what is this, like, going towards?
I will say one of the best things that came out of the modern day Battlefront 2 was the Ewok hunt.
Oh, that
Like,
game was great.
that was
That's a good
so
game,
much
yeah.
fun.
That was their take on the Call of Duty's Infected, for those who don't know, and it was glorious.
Yeah,
And
fun.
nothing scarier than hearing that. The whole map is pitch black, and you're just hearing the Ewok horn, and it's like, oh shit. And then you're like shooting at things, and you see movement,
Yeah.
and you're like, I can't see. I changed the contrast on my TV just so I can see those motherfuckers. Okay.
But yeah, like why aren't like there's you have a fan base that loves the Clone Wars, and like you've added like you have a whole entire section of a game dedicated to the Clone Wars. Why don't you have anything
Like, that
from
was
the
literally
Clone
the
Wars?
selling
Referencing
point
the
of
Clone
2.
Wars, right?
That was wasn't that the selling point? Well, were the Clone Wars stuff there when the game first came
No,
out?
it wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like they literally, that was the whole thing that actually
There was
brought
the
people back to
basis
that
there
game.
of
The only
just
reason
the-
people came about that game is because they developed prequel stuff
Yeah.
for it. Like in the long run.
Well, you had Naboo, you had
Geonosis.
like 3 maps, and that was it. And then it was like, okay, why are we here?
and there were games maps you kind of played on.
Yeah.
Story mode as well.
It was so. So Christian, your add subtract, or Jack, sorry, your add
No,
subtract.
I already went.
Okay, Christian, you have to add one thing. You're not allowed to subtract anything because you would subtract the whole
Yeah, I
game.
would subtract them existing, but it's I don't even know. Just I would add like more like time for the story mode to actually let it breathe, maybe instead of just being like 4 hours and kind of just feeling like we need a story mode. They complained about it because that's what it feels like to me. It just like if you're gonna do a story mode, then like do a story mode that like isn't just 4 hours. Like an average AAA story mode is 8, if not more. Like, and then you didn't even have like a full story for your 4 hour. Like when you had like you still at that point had like
It was like Mandalorian season 2.5.
yeah. And I don't even like a lot of people hate Iden Versio. I don't even hate Iden Versio.
I like
He's
Iden.
a fine character. Dell I think is better, but the fucking DLC.
Who else thought that?
Wait,
Iden
real quick, the DLC is dog shit. I'm not gonna like it's the it's I don't know if anyone played that.
I did.
But horrible.
Who else that Iden and Dell were Ray's parents? Because I definitely did.
I was like maybe.
I had a thought going into it that because when the movies were released and stuff like that, I was like, oh shit, this would actually make sense because then he meets Luke and you're
Yeah.
not nobody, but you're still somebody.
Yeah.
Like you still have a thread in the story, I guess. But
Yeah.
then the DLC came out and I was like,
Nope, never
what the
mind.
fuck.
No, they did.
What about you, buddy? What do you add, subtract?
All right. First of all, adding, I wanted to see more worlds, more battles. I want to see more class customization, like the ability. Do you remember when Call of Duty first came out and you could create your own clan tag and clan symbol and stuff like that? I know it's more ours than these guys.
Yeah.
You could create your own graphics and stuff, and then that you could overlay that on your guns and stuff like that. I wanted to see that. I wanted
I was just
that
saying, yeah.
helmet to be on a trooper. I wanted to create that on a trooper. Like that's what I wanted to do.
See, I can see the positive and the negative because I'd like him up.
Just
Like,
so
I like
many
the class.
penises everywhere.
Because like, for instance, like in the new games, I didn't like the cards.
I thought the cards were stupid.
Yeah.
I thought because
That would be a
I
remove
just
for
I
me.
just like
Yeah.
I would remove the cards actually if I can rescind my other thing. Like literally go. I like the classic, and I know this is an older school video game trend, but I like just being able to pick a class. Like not all the time. Like I played Battlefront. Like Battlefield 1 was like one of my games, and I would love the customization of
like,
that. But I almost
love your
don't think
idea
Star
of that.
Wars should have that though. At least like not that type of game. Like I think the open world one, when that eventually comes around, you should be able to have whatever fucking weapon in Star Wars you
Yeah.
want,
There's
and any
no
armor
reason
you want.
But this guy should not be on a trooper.
Right.
But yeah, you should have had a little bit more, like, even if you couldn't change like the color,
that's a good
like maybe
idea.
you should be able to change like the markings a bit more on the characters,
Yeah.
or like do the. You can unlock different costumes for characters, can you not?
Like,
You can.
Yeah.
You know what
You have to
appealed
do,
to
like,
me
challenges
for
for 'em, but-
online? What would appeal for me for online is if you could do that. You can create your own custom military, like clan. Whatever your own, like an own imprint on some kind of base thing,
Yeah.
and then battle other people's original designs, creations on various planets. Like that's something that I think that's a great. That would be
They
a great
kind
idea.
of did that with EA, so FIFA does that now.
Yes.
Where you can create your own soccer club.
Oh, yeah.
And you do that where you create the
That's
uniforms
cool.
and stuff like that. Oh, take it and put it into Battlefront.
Yeah.
Or Battlefield or any
Like
of
the old
any
Halo
of the
clans.
games.
You're like talking about the old Halo clan type.
Kind
stuff.
of, yeah. Like Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
Right?
Such a
Um,
great TV show.
But we're getting this open world game that's coming out,
Better than
and it's going to be an
real Halo
MMO, from my understanding. where you could basically create your character. It's going to be Destiny meets No Man's Sky meets Assassin's Creed, and you get to create a class.
That
and
is the
stuff like
long. That is like the dream at the end. The
hope-
Star Wars No Man's Sky. That is like the long term. Every Star Wars fan is looking down the air. It's like, when will the technology
So
be
they're
there?
saying
When will they
2024.
not fuck it up? It's like
So they're saying 2024, but it might get pushed back to early 2025, which I'm okay with.
2026.
Just don't
and
fuck it
somehow
up.
They gave it to Ubisoft.
Don't
They
fuck it up.
gave
I'm tired of games being released that aren't games. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if I'm spending $75 on a piece of software, why am I not getting the full software?
Well, I mean, so many AAA games this year. Like there was a meme I saw the other day because the newest one is that Lord of the Rings game.
Oh, Gollum.
Oh, Gollum.
Which I don't even know,
Oh
like,
my
which, to
gosh.
go off on a little tangent real quick, like, which I'd never do, but it's like, but like, who decided, like, just beyond the game not working and being incomplete, because that's normal for AAA games these days.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck was like, yeah, I want to play. I love Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm gonna play as the weakest, like, little piece of shit in the universe. Like, I want to play as Gollum. You want to know what the game is? I don't know if anyone's played.
Well,
Like,
I
looked at the
leased a
viewers.
car
Right? You
yesterday,
play as like
but
enslaved
it's not
Gollum
done.
by orcs,
Right?
like in the game.
I leased a car yesterday, but it doesn't have an engine. It only has 3 tires.
Like, I don't want to play as
There's no driver's
Aragorn.
seat.
I don't
Well,
want to
that's
play
what
as
these games are
Gandalf. I want to play as Smeagol, like in Lord of the Rings. Like, I don't want to play as anyone cool. Like, it's like I want to be a slave and like follow people around and like pick up tags off corpses, which is like some of the literally like the gameplay of this game. I'm like, who is this for? Like,
Is it that-
and it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Beyond that, it doesn't work.
Is it us that's the problem though, as the consumers, that we want this stuff and they create deadlines and then they rush it out?
Okay, but
No,
I
it's
think
just,
that there's
people who are running it. They're just idiots. Like,
there's some point to like
Just
people
capitalism.
people like getting upset with companies, but then there's also like what happened with Survivor. Like they set a due date, and then we were close to that due date, and they said, we're sorry.
Yeah, Survivor's
The-
on this list too.
The
Actually,
game's not ready.
Mm-hmm.
We need to push it back a little more. And the fans were like, okay, like.
then it came out and it still kind of failed. It still broke a bit.
A
But
little
at least
bit.
It's not as bad as what it was,
Actually,
though.
no,
Yeah,
not at
right.
all. Actually, out of all, because basically every big release this year that's like been a AAA game, besides Zelda, has had massive technical. You had like Redfall, you had the Orc game, you had Survivor at first. Survivor is actually probably the least egregious of the bunch because they fixed it pretty quick, and
Yeah.
it was just like, and at least like
switch to me.
the underlying game wasn't broke. It was just the lag. Like, it was just the frame rate.
Xbox
Like,
didn't run it right.
no, actually, Xbox ran it best out of everything from what PC could barely run it, is what I
heard-
was able to gauge.
I heard that Xbox couldn't run it. At all
I played it
the
on
first
Xbox.
couple of days.
I played it on Xbox. Oh, I didn't play it the first couple of days, but my Xbox ran it pretty well.
Which
Like-
game? Sorry, squirrel.
Survivor.
You couldn't stream it.
Yeah, that was an issue.
You couldn't
I know.
stream it.
Well, the PC couldn't handle it at all until they fixed it. I remember.
So, but that's neither here nor there. We're gonna wait for Julien for that, because Julien logged so many hours playing that game, which you can see on our stream and on our TikToks.
We do apologize for the technical difficulties. The YouTube videos will resume shortly.
Yeah.
We've had a little bit of problems.
Yeah, so Julian's running off of some on-location Wi-Fi that is not the best and does not handle the speeds that he needs to run it at. So we do apologize for that for those who are out there watching. And we'll be on streams again shortly.
Remember Star Wars
what-
Eclipse?
Wow, that's a
Talk
throwback.
about a throwback. Wow. Sorry,
that trailer?
squirrel.
Well, real quick, just to about that, because I have one thing to say on it, because again, nothing exists for this game.
Yeah.
But the trailer.
Just the one trailer of the
Isn't that
guy-
the trailer with the guys and the drums and
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah,
what happened to
that all of that imagery you saw, they didn't have an idea. They just put random Star Wars images like in a trailer and then called it Star Wars Eclipse at the end. It was like, we're making a game. Like, this may or may not be what the game's about. Like, here's
The
some
game
Star
comes out
Wars.
and it's
Here's
drums.
a Mon Cala. Here's a guy with some Mongolian like throat singing.
You know what would be pretty cool though is like if you threw out there like the fact that you could be a Mon Cala Jedi or something like that. So,
No, when that open world game comes around, you should be able to be whatever you want.
that's
You should
what
be
I'm
any
kind of
race,
hoping
like-
for, and that's where I'm hoping we
I
get
will
into
hold
the.
out hope for that game for as long as I can.
Matt, that's kind of what I'm getting at with that open world game is that we go up, we clan up, and we just go run shit. Okay?
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
Legion will come to pass, and you will all
I wonder
rue
if
the
that makes it
day.
multiplayer.
You will
Probably
all
be
rue the
insane.
day that you mess with the Legion. But Matt, I want to thank you for coming on. I know there's still so much more to talk about.
Of course.
We're going to have you back on to continue the conversation once we get with Survivor and Jedi and we get Julien on here.
Of course. No, thanks for having me, guys. It was really cool to be asked. It always is nice to feel appreciated. So when I get asked to be on shows, it's always really nice. Anytime you need a fill-in or whatever, just let me know because obviously I live a couple minutes away. And I got to admit, this is the most fun I've had talking Star Wars in a long time. So thank you.
So, and we are greatly appreciative for you to come out and everything that you have done in regards to pushing the platform and the network and the medium as a whole. We're grateful because without you, we wouldn't have this. So thank you for that.
Of course, my
and
pleasure.
Little claps here.
Don't
I know
make
we
me
don't have a
blush.
studio
Golf clap,
audience.
yeah.
but,
Stop. No.
when we have our new set up and running, we'll definitely have to have you and the grievances cast on and have a debate.
We're spread out. We're certainly spread out, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind a guest appearance. So,
Well, we'll have to figure something out for sure. But Matt, I want to thank you, Baranto Media, Emerge Studios, and BICBP
You did it.
-radio.com as a whole for everything we did, everything you guys do. And then keep an eye on Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We went out to Star Wars night last night for the Buffalo Bisons. We'll have to have an episode on just that. Entertaining event and Go Bandits as they won the NLL Cup, as we do all things Buffalo here. And we will be launching a Discord that will be out later this week. So if you guys want to have a live conversation with us, we will be on there as well. That way you're not having to comment back and forth on TikTok for those who don't use that platform.
We're going to try and do live streams soon, either reaction live streams or live stream podcasting. So
Yep,
look out
absolutely.
for it.
When
Especially,
Ahsoka comes around, we'll definitely be doing Ahsoka reactions,
Yep.
I think.
yes.
So.
And for... Excuse me. I had a thought and I lost it. We were talking streaming. Help me, Jack. Oh, question of the day. Question of the day. Julian's not here, so I get to do it. Your question of the day is, if you had to add or subtract something from the Battlefront series, what would it be? Let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, comment, share it with all your friends, and may the Force be with you. Always.